the things are there, they're not accessible. There's not a culture of it, right? Because of reasons like working, like many folks here are like, working like that. Not just making
Oh, we're live.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I mean, it's wild.
Wow.
Now I'm like, when did that stuff happen? It happened before I was trying to San Diego. But when did we become the more largest? Let us know where you I'm going to start 10. Yeah. Do you want do you want the mic?
I
The
got
mic's
it.
ready if you want a mic.
I got it.
You want it?
Well, all right, folks, we're going to get started.
The organic.
All right, folks, we're going to get started, and I would like to invite everybody, if you would like to sit closer to the screen, just so you know, united group, but no close to the screen. All right, welcome everybody to our CERF sector meeting, and the very exciting sector meeting focused on LGBTQIA people here in Imperial Valley. So we're going to get into some introductory information about what CERF is, how you can participate, and we're going to get into some exercises to get us talking about, how we can use this historic state funding opportunity to better our community here. First, a little introduction. My name is Juan Valencia. I'm a community organizer with Ivy Equity and Justice Coalition. Ivy Equity and Justice Coalition is one of the 8 community-based organizations that are participating in the Southern Border Coalition, which is the name we've sort of given ourselves as the organizations that are working to essentially bring that CERF funding and the development of its projects here to the Valley. So we have Ivy Equity and Justice, like I said, but the other co-conveners that are part of this organization, known as Southern Border Coalition, Comité Cívico del Valle, which we have Melanie here representing the organization, Imperial Valley Equity and Justice Coalition, Ivy Wellness Foundation, represented here by Roque, who's in the audience, San Diego and Imperial Counties Labor Council, and then these San Diego specific organizations, San Diego Regional Policy and Innovation Center, San Diego State University, which is our fiscal agent and convener, SBCS, and Universidad Popular. So I will explain a little bit as to why we're being paired with San Diego organizations in a bit, but first I think it's much more useful to get us more into the mindset of what CERF is, what these funds mean for us, what we can do with them. So our first exercise is going to be very easy. We're just going to start dreaming collectively about our community here. So essentially, the Imperial Valley has a historic chance to use state funds to address community needs. Imperial County's residents are seldom ever given a direct chance to voice their concerns and hopes for their community, but that chance is here now. Essentially, these are state funds that we, the community of Imperial Valley, can use. So it is our community's turn to start dreaming, so let's get right to it. So in this exercise, if you all want to have conversations with your neighbors, introduce yourselves, and take 10 minutes or so to share with them what you have always wanted to see improved or developed in the Imperial Valley. And this is a LGBTQIA specific sector meeting, but you can use this time to have a conversation about just anything that you think you've seen any problems in the community, anything that needs funding, any projects that you would like to see around. You just dream as big as you would like. Don't worry about strategy, simply share your concerns and hopes for your community. And then after those 10 minutes of conversation, we'll dedicate 5 minutes to anyone who might want to share their dreams with the broader group. So if anybody would just like to talk amongst yourselves, introduce yourselves, and we'll have some conversation. And I don't know if we'll take the full 10 minutes, but we'll see how the conversations flow.
Hi. Yeah, I'd love to. So just would love to kind of get started where we find I know we haven't shared too much content, and it's on purpose because once we get to the next slide, there's a bunch of kind of bureaucratic language. And for now, I mean, we don't need to kind of have
we're starting the conversation.
kind of develop some we've always dreamed of, the kind of changes that we've always dreamed of. It's an opportunity to chat a little bit. I know Jocelyn and I were talking a moment ago about, the opportunities with interacting, the kind of benefits that engaging with like culture, to kind of visit the public lands around us, like going to unpacks, that kind of thing, like making that more accessible for like really anyone in the valley, we think would be a boost in quality of life. And so whatever infrastructure, whatever mechanism you have to like connect with like the other two outdoors, is one of the ideas that we've had. One of our about that idea of just trying to come here and then we can go back. Yes, and I really don't know what sector or coming with like institutions and how we're seeing that you have so much power, there's a lot of people that a lot of people like might not have the I remember growing up seeing Salvation Army in Mexico and they would like the spaceship looking. Oh wait, I'm not I don't know, just like a small I'm very happy with the one that we have. Yeah, like bread, way bigger than that.
Like a basic bread basket.
Yeah. And earlier I saw in Chicago they first yes. They were the first publicly owned like grocery markets.
Okay.
And Chicago. And it's not that like, giving people the access to food that's not affected by that. I've always wanted more farmers markets here. Oh, they're local. So actually, like farmers markets every weekend. At least when it's not hot, right? I think as part of our struggle where we, I think, are able to do certain things during half the year, and so like really kind of owning that identity of being like, okay, like how do we make sure that there's like food security in both scenarios, whether we're like unable to farmers markets, and even at that, it's not enough, I would say, in every area, but then like how do we ensure that like there's a model for it? Have to adapt in
like an evening market.
Yeah.
Like the summer.
Creams.
Yeah. Well, I saw like an advertisement for this on someone's Instagram and was kind of caught my eye. I was like, I should go. It's like a whole state fund, state first community needs and well, the first thing that came to my mind was like, well, Planned Parenthood that burned down. And it's like, well, it's kind of like our own Planned Parenthood. And it's a little concerning that Nevada don't have access to that anymore. And I know that it's temporary. It'll eventually get fixed, but there has to be like a sense of urgency perhaps, or maybe someone should kind of like just voice that because it's like a health. It's really health and public health. So I felt like I needed to come and say that to someone. Yeah.
Reflect a little bit. So it's just it's wild, like that point that you're bringing up, like it seems like
Yeah. I'm pretty sure.
like I've already seen I mean that was my doctor as well, and so many of us, and like folks needing to drive to San Diego pretty much because the experience there are routing us to like you know there's it's not the same. We go to Planned Parenthood for a specific reason. What beyond like just having a physician. Yeah. And you know, I would say in addition to that is like I don't know if y'all have heard about the legislation that's out there that's trying to unify everything for district. Yeah, like they do feel like it's like seniors. I don't know if you've heard, but like PCRC is like in my
Oh yeah.
and they're you know moving some of their they're like pretty much consolidating. They're acting like that's something that's like for duplicative costs, but it's actually you know reducing access because when the gaslighting when folks have to drive because Calexico, you know, I'm from Calexico, like we pay for the hospital meals is what we call it, and we essentially pay for the ambulance that take us to hospitals and other places. That's kind of what is all, and the Calexico has been paying for the hospital attacks for a long time. I think like the point you bring is a really kind of systemic one that is like not very good as one of those you know like beacons of access for a lot of us. And so what not only like short-term challenges with that, right? But how do we ensure that if whatever is happening at the legislative level that is trying to unify the system, how do we make sure that it is better than it used to be? Because, or like that it currently is because at this point we know all the challenges with the system. And yeah, Thunder is still pretty new here too, right? That's so, you know, like, yes, that is.
So
What?
It is progress. I feel like we have this mindset that like it's like we're grateful for something that the rest of the country has access to. For something that San Diego offers, like anywhere really that it's like Canada, it's a basic right, and here we sometimes have to go without that, and maybe like touching on what you were saying earlier about having like a farmers market or having outdoor activities or even having fun for something cultural for the valley. Like we don't like we know that like in those places like there's funding for that. Like there's San Diego, there's so much you can do, and here we just. It's not the same quality of life. We kind of like we're okay accepting it, and we're like, well, it's not, and like we just kind of shrug and that's why you know it's 2023. It is shocking that maybe I don't know the history of Planned Parenthood, but like if we only had it 10 years ago, well, then that's really shocking. It's disturbing. And like maybe touching on what you were saying about the Centro, the regional medical center, like I have a friend who works there as a doctor, and he's not from here. He basically moved here from New York City And one of the things like he's told me like in content is like this is like a third world country. Like basically these like facilities are like third world country. And I'm like, you know, I'm not shocked, but like it's so disappointing to have someone else that like isn't native to the valley. It's like it's just so blatant and see it, yeah. And like that's all we have. So
I was also curious. Medical
pressing issues. You're saying something earlier about like inflation and like food insecurity. That's pretty. Yeah.
I know there's bring back coalition. Yeah, so it's wild. Like as sheriff and laws and things like that, but I think the one person there is because of its running and laws and that person like land to do training elsewhere.
Okay.
So that's like so she so just kind of share like that's one of the things that I've seen in the city stuff in general. They don't just there's no like systemic people going and get like a board kind of like yeah there's no sort of like cities really see it as like oh it's the nonprofit but the nonprofit is so one person that's writing a budget trying to make it work and it's really the budget that's like people from here I mean I'm sure and like my other areas that like they know about it and it's been growing
Yeah.
so something like that is very good but like imagine if we invested in savings right and so it's really impressive she tries to get to it and then
well, she's only choosing and you all have the different resources and like you know your energy and like your bandwidth it's like finite but like I feel like that is like to use your first aesthetic like that's something that we like comfortable in the valley like one of my friends her mom was on the board for the Humane Society here and something that like she mentioned years ago that I'll never forget is that like how much we struggle for the Humane Society for them to have like some kind of funding. So if you go to San Diego or you somewhere like Palm Springs, there's people who like there's more resources from the community. Or there's like trust funds for like a dog shelter in San Diego and it's like worth $1 million and it came from a really generous wealthy donor and we don't have that here and it's okay we have to work with what we have. But maybe like something that should be done to kind of like equalize like, the environment.
But you know, like to people, all of this, like
I mean, I love the valley. I know like one resident is 30 years old.
This is open to the public, but
I think that's what
like
we're here.
make it intentional that communication and so that's something that like I don't know if we can run so that's how it is more like like education. Yeah. So there is a lot that needs to change in order for it to be back here
Try to think of like
not feel like every other year it becomes a question of like you know, like depending on what's going on, you're always questioning that like organization or like unity member and such that I mean I came back away for years and like you know, I came back to this work full time. I know like for me to go and like that. And honestly like there's like a honestly, like, I'll just go like I didn't know what I like how I could help people and be there for them. But I put it on the wall and like the fact that y'all are out here and look at it or touch it, and now it's like, okay, that's it's like kind of different, like unsure what to expect, but so I think for the community it's the same. Like it's so I do hope that this is another vehicle where like the can use space to be represented, to represent ourselves and it's like yeah, like these groups that we have here, these are all the sectors that are part of it. But who gets to all about economics? It's usually the developers, right? And government. But there's all these communities that don't really get to communities like
Oh my God, amazing.
that's like my own belief, you know.
Thank you so much
Yeah, the research.
Yeah.
I think I'm yeah.
I've never been to like never.
All right, as we're sort of wrapping up our conversations and reconvening. Some amazing comments being made across the room. So so now we can take the time if the tables or like the co-conveners at the tables, if the other attendees are too shy, if you would like to share, some of the conversations, some of the points that were made, I can totally start. So my table, we had amazing conversations about making more efforts to have community events and community spaces, so that we can feel like we're being much more inclusive and also being more intentional about the kinds of events and the kinds of education that are provided at workplaces or within organizations to be more inclusive of LGBTQIA people, to sort of start to a journey of healing for the LGBTQIA community in terms of education, in terms of teaching about acceptance. Those were some of the points that were brought up at my table, but we also talked about we would like to see more infrastructure, event center, putting on more events for everybody in the community, addressing a lot of like the healthcare accessibility issues that we have, and also as pertaining to LGBTQIA folks. So lots of amazing points, and I turn it to anybody else that might want to share.
Yeah, okay. So then jump in and we talked about a lot of very kind of serious concerns, but obviously dreaming of the kind of changes that we want to see. We started off our conversation talking about like how important like access to the outdoors can have, and being able to kind of, especially in the heat when it's really hot, like being able to have access to go to the forest that's not too far from here. Folks notice that there's like a food bank that's like, I don't know if y'all have seen it, but it's like super decked out with like, it's like there's an outdoor space, it's massive, right? And so folks saying that like we want to see places like that, but that are accessible to communities, that it doesn't cost a ton for us to be able to kind of like use that space, and we want to see more of them, right? All over the valley. We talked about, there was an example in Chicago, there's a market that's a publicly owned market, and so with inflation, all the prices have risen, but this market essentially, ensures that accessible food is still there for folks that, since it's owned by the people. And then we really got into the issue of healthcare and just for all people, how healthcare is just not accessible enough, it's not appropriate. Folks talk about it like, people that are, experts in their field have acknowledged that we have services and facilities that are like third world country status, and that's why we always have to leave the valley in order to get certain procedures done. But we did talk about how so much of this is systemic, and we in this table, like, we don't want to feel like the having even like cultural centers, like more things that we always just say, oh, it's the valley, so it's not here, like where so many other places just nearby in San Diego, like just have this access. So we kind of want to stop being the place that like, oh, it's just like how it is here, and that we're able to kind of have more access to like all the things that we have that are well resourced, and addressing like systemic things. I don't know if folks want to add anything else.
Thank you. Covered it all.
Thank you. If anyone else wants to.
So my group mentioned a few things. We started off with having a little bit more information for the public. So it would be like capacitating the valley to host meetings just like this in places where it's a little bit more doable. Like in a space where in a tight space, but we were still able to do it. And then we also went into museums and how we need to make them a little bit more accessible and perhaps more events for adults. I don't know if y'all have seen that, the Desert Museum has some activities for little kids, and then something for adults, and then the Pioneers Museum, it's a little bit like, I haven't seen anything. But like, it would be good to engage like the adults like at night, maybe get a little drink and then explore the museum or something like that. And then we mentioned downtown lighting. It would be a good idea to kind of enhance the infrastructure in downtown areas because usually in the dark, crime usually goes up. So if we have some light, then we can start preventing those type of issues. And then we went into highway greening. I feel like we definitely have seen, yes, highway greening and obviously downtown greening too. I feel like sometimes if you have your little coffee and you're trying to sit down in downtown, and you want to be able to sit down in the little shade and drink your coffee while you scroll or read a book. And those were just some of the ideas that we talked about. Do you all want to add anything?
All right. These are amazing conversations that are happening. And what I love is that, we all know, more or less the work that needs to be done here in our region. But I'm also really astounded and happy to hear that, we're also thinking not just the problems, but solutions, right? Like we have our mind, set towards working to bettering some of these problems, which is an amazing mindset to have if you're coming here to learn about CERF. So let me just give you a bit of a rundown on what CERF is, some of the more logistical information. So CERF stands for the California Economic Resiliency Fund. This program is a $600 million state investment to support inclusive regional planning and the development of high-priority economic development projects that benefit, specifically as it says here, disadvantaged communities, that they create high-road jobs, right? Jobs that pay a livable wage and that require sophisticated training and expertise, and transition the region to a net zero emission economy. Of the $600 million funding being awarded by the state of California for this program, $65 million is being dedicated to planning grants known as Phase 1, specifically meant to identify community needs and design strategies to create and maintain quality jobs across the state. So that is the phase that we are currently in, Phase 1, where we are identifying, the needs of the community, and we're starting to think of like what projects or solutions we can come up with this state funding. And for the Imperial Valley, of course, this is a historic state investment and specifically meant to address our longstanding economic, employment, and development concerns. For this phase one of CERF, the state is being divided into 13 regions. It's just an info on how the state is being strategized, with each region being awarded $5 million for these planning grants. So for our region, Imperial County is paired with San Diego County, and we're the southmost 13 region, and we're known as the Southern Border Region, and that's why the community-based organizations, us, are working to bring this CERF project to Imperial Valley. That is why we are known as the Southern Border Coalition, because that is the name our region is being given. So I know, this all sounds like really, really big and maybe intimidating, to some people who are not maybe used to, participating in programs like this. But accessibility, making sure that community members have a say in this process, that is, I would say, the main thing that we are working towards, to ensure that this includes as many community members as possible. So for these meetings and attendance, representing all the county's diversity is crucial. It is crucial for us to ensure that the process that's being laid out is representative of the entire community. And of course, today we are having this sector meeting specifically for the LGBTQIA sector. And that is one of the sectors that the Southern Border Region actually advocated to have included, because we realize that the LGBTQIA community in Imperial County is so often, sadly, rendered invisible or disenfranchised, never really given a stage to participate in some of these state projects. So we wanted to ensure that there was a stage specifically to address LGBTQIA needs. But these are the 15 stakeholder sectors that are represented by the coalition. And so I'll just go through them quickly. We have labor, worker centers, education and training, workforce development entities, economic development, business and employers, government, philanthropic organizations, environmental justice, disinvested communities, grassroots and community-based organizations, California Native American tribes, youth, LGBTQIA, and farm workers. As you can see, these sectors have a conscious effort to include disinvested communities within them. And there are these worksheets that we've laid out where they have the specific information on how these sectors are being defined. So like I said, all of this sounds like a really big and scary process. But if you're interested in being a member of the coalition in adding your voice to developing this regional economic plan that's going to take into consideration all the areas within our community that need work, essentially. If you would like to become a coalition member, to join, really, all you have to do is complete and sign the coalition member form, which you can access. There's QR codes at each table that you can scan, and then just fill out some very simple questions. We'll keep you updated. Basically, when you fill out this questionnaire, you will receive updates from us about future meetings, about how the CERF program is developing, etc. And then, of course, you can determine which of the stakeholder sectors best describe you. You can choose two, with one serving as your primary sector affiliation. So I would imagine attendees here maybe have an interest in the LGBTQIA sector, but of course you are free to look at and sign up for anyone that you think describes you best. So yeah, basically what all of this is for is that we're looking to include community members, as well as community leaders, but really we want it to be as equitable a process as possible. What this work would include, essentially, you would meet within your sectors, looking at monthly meetings, although the specifics of how the sectors will be strategized and operate these are developments that will inform you of if you sign up to be a coalition member. So meet quarterly to share information. So this would be for sector leads. So each sector would be stratified, where they would have a person, that's in charge of being sort of like the communication point between, all the developments that are going at the state level and the local, regional group, the sector, the members of a sector that they're representing. So some of the responsibilities would include meeting to share information and feedback to the sub-regional and regional levels of this organizations, encourage other organizations, other members to join the Southern Border Coalition, encourage and follow with coalition members about completing the stakeholder mapping survey. So just overall information, like the responsibilities would really just be meeting, having conversations, continuing to participate in meetings of this sort.
Can I add one thing, Juan?
Please.
I feel like this thing is not clear on the slides, but essentially you would be, their sectors would be meeting so that they could be talking about like the kind of issues that they care about and like moving in that like cohesion with that sector. But those sectors would eventually meet with all the other 14 sectors, right? So that you can kind of see like, okay, the other sectors have these other things that they want to bring to the table, and then there's like dialogue at that level as well in developing that plan. And then not only that, but what Juan says, regional. So we would also, all those 15 sectors would meet with all the 15 sectors in San Diego, because there's communication that happens at that level as well.
Thank you. And really, like, this slide is sort of like showing, the sort of like working statements that you would have if you would like to participate, as a coalition member or a sector lead, the quality of the regional plan. So essentially all of this work that we're doing, phase one is to develop a regional plan that specifies all of the struggles and needs that the community is facing. So it would really be people participating in this coalition. We would like them to have as equitable a mindset as possible. Bringing conversations not just through professional but through lived experiences as well. Taking the worth and importance of a community resident, with equal importance. Let's see what. Yeah, just sort of like actively working, to bring other people in, and continue the conversations within the sectors, and like Daniela was explaining, also continue that conversation at a regional level. I don't know how much information we would want to give them besides just the dates.
I mean, I can like share a little bit. I mean, really, we just kind of want you to have in mind like the kind of things that we're working towards. So there's going to be a big effort this fall to try to get this plan completed by the end of the year, and it is a pretty wild timeline. And it's take time in order, like relationships take time, like just all of this planning takes time. So we'll see how that goes, but we will get some researchers that are going to help. And so there's people that are going to come on board and take on the work of essentially working through, facilitating through a regional summary, a labor market analysis, and these other terms that like might not mean too much to us. I certainly have never really seen some of these, but we'll pretty much be learning together. And then after that end of the year date, 6 months between that and June, we're going to be working on strategies like what are the things we're going to prioritize. So I mean, you can kind of come in and out or like be engaged the whole way through. If you end up having like there are different levels of engagement along that timeline primarily, and there will be funds that will be awarded at a later phase to essentially award some of those projects that will be kind of ideated during this process, right? There's some projects that folks will identify and people will be able to apply to develop those plans, right? Throughout these projects. There will be millions of dollars for essentially bringing some of those ideas to life.
So this next slide is kind of included here to try to give you all, a clear understanding of like what the kind of work that we would hope to do here. What are the possibilities with CERF? I don't know if we have time to go into everything specifically, but essentially, everything that requires planning documents from the way that our public transport is strategized, to the way that some school programs are introduced to some of our schools. The way that the local workforce is trained, the way that all of these things require planning that take the information into account that is the same kind of information that we hope to collect from anybody that participates in this coalition. What are the lived experiences here in this region? What are the specific community needs that you notice? Essentially, that is the kind of work that we're hoping to do here in this phase one, is to sort of gather information and testimonies on like what this region looks like in terms of infrastructure, in terms of like economic opportunity, in terms of like the disinvested communities here. So all of that is the work that we hope to get participants in the mindset of. And then that is what this second exercise is for. How are we doing on time?
So in most of our meetings, we haven't had time to like really dive into this one, but we kind of already been talking about some of it.
Right.
So I would just say if you want to cover the other slides, and then as people kind of wrap up their conversations, like I would encourage that folks engage in some of this discussion.
And I was gonna say I feel like we even sort of did a lot of that in our first exercise, because we're already starting to think of ways in which we can plan to make some of these dreams, a reality. So for the next steps, like I said, one of the most important things that you could do today with us, if you haven't already, is to become a member by signing the coalition member form. And then in the future, there will be spaces to, like I said, meet at the sub-regional and regional levels with other sectors and to sort of plan with the help of some professionals, of course, how this is going to roll out. And then after sector leads are elected, they should be prepared for at least monthly meetings up to September 2026 when the project ends. And throughout this entire time, the plan is that sector leads will be compensated for their participation. So yeah, I guess we can open these last minutes to any conversation or questions or comments, but of course we'd like to thank you for your time. Sorry for the kind of chaotic 2 meetings happening at the same time at the beginning, but I feel like we still managed to have some incredible conversations here, which I'm very grateful for. So more information on coalition meetings, including sector engagements, will all be posted on our website or emailed to people to sign up on the coalition member form. And here's all the resources that you can find. And of course, as always, we invite you to invite others to attend these meetings if you think there's anybody that would be interested in taking part of this project. So, yeah, I guess we can leave it up to any questions, comments, conversations. If anyone's hungry, I know there's still pizza. But yeah, thank you all so much. Thank you all so much for your time. This was amazing.
I know.